Hello, I'm a Hard Times guy. Today's Friday, tomorrow's Saturday, and tomorrow the Franklin Grizzly Cubs will play the Noblesville Lady Millers for the Indiana High School Girls State Basketball Championship. 2.5 weeks ago, I made a video. Our girls basketball team had just won their 11th consecutive sectional. And the video I made was about that and about what it took to make an accomplishment like that. And I didn't like the video when I got done with it, so didn't do anything with it immediately. And later I made a second attempt at it, and I made another video and didn't like it either. But time's passed since then. It's been about 3.5 weeks. And I'm going to put the first version of that video online today. That's what you're going to see. After we won the sectional, our kids went to Columbus and played in the regional the next weekend. And we won the morning session. We played Castle and won, advanced to the championship round. And in the championship round, we had a hard-fought contest, but our kids lost to Franklin. And I've been moving kind of slow since then. It takes me a while to get over everything coming to an end. And I love basketball, and I love the Indiana high school basketball system. Liked it better when it was not class basketball, but I still love it. The one bad thing about it is it guarantees that if you don't win the state championship, the last game you play, you have to lose it. And it just takes a while for me and our family to get over losing anything. I'm proud of our kids, and I'm proud of our coaching staff, and I'm proud of our fans. And having said that, that's probably all I'm going to say. That's all I should say, I guess. I'm just going to go on with and show you that video that I made a few weeks ago. Today I'm going to talk to you about something totally, not totally, but you don't hear me talk about this too often as the Hard Times guy. I'm usually talking about something else, but I have mentioned it, I'm sure, and I've mentioned a book I wrote, which is called Observations, Basketball and Bird Dogs. You've seen that. Today I was online and I was looking at an article that I looked at several articles, but one in particular that Justin Soklin had written, and he was talking about our girls basketball program. And I don't know, there was a couple articles in there about the sectional that we just won for the 11th straight time. And he interviewed the coach, and in one of those articles they were talking about what it took to win the sectional 11 straight times. And they were talking about what an accomplishment that was. And one of the things that they talked about was the kind of girls that it took, and where these kind of girls came from, and how they had the drive that it took to not only to love basketball and prepare themselves to be basketball players and work diligently to become good basketball players, good enough to play for their high school team, but Also, when they got there, the tradition that they had and the mental toughness and the drive and the discipline and the something in here that caused them to be champions. I got to thinking about that. One of the things they talked about was how they looked up to high school players ahead of them that were part of this program. How when these girls that are playing now were little girls, their heroes were those girls that were on that varsity basketball team. And Facebook had shown memories of other years when today's girls were little girls, 7, 8 years old, 9 years old, and they posed with their favorite players, with the Dominique McBrides and the Jenna Allens and those girls that came before them. And that's something that's been going on for a long time. And it's where little girls get the idea that, man, I can do that someday. And wouldn't that be cool if I could do that someday? And they get a dream and then they work towards it. So I was reading all that stuff. And I've been doing this a long time. Not this, but reading articles about girls basketball and going to girls basketball games. And I thought about another little girl as I read that. She was 8 years old. And this was in 1983. And we were at Market Square Arena. Way up there in the nosebleed seats. Looking down there at the little floor and the Bedford North Lawrence girls basketball team. Watching them competing and winning the state championship, 1983. And I had my little girl with me. She was 8. And we watched that happen. The other night I was sitting there at Jeffersonville, our sectional game, and I was looking around the gym, and there were some people sitting behind me from Mitchell. And they don't have anybody on our team, but they like our team, and they got a B&L All Sports Pass for some other activities that some of their grandkids do out there. And one of the things that these people do is they follow our girls basketball team because people like to see winners. And this lady and my wife got struck up, and she found out who we were and what we knew, and she wanted to know these people around us, who are they? Who are they? Who are they? And they wanted to know which ones of these people were the friends and relatives and parents and grandparents. Today's kids are out on the floor. They were from Mitchell. They didn't know any of this stuff. So my wife, Betty, she was pointing out to them, this guy down here, he's her granddad, number so-and-so. And she's got 2 granddads come to the game. That guy over there, he's her maternal grandfather. Stuff like that. And these people were soaking it all up. And so I said, you see that lady sitting over there on the back row with her back against the wall there on the end, and she's got a red shirt on that says B&L on it? And they said, yeah. And I said, she was on that 1983 team. She played guard for the Bedford North Lawrence girls in 1983. That's her. And I told them what her name was. So it's been going on a long time, and I've been doing it a long time. And my little girl was one when she was 8 years old that saw him win the 1983 state championship. She thought, I can do that. And she did. She was on the team from 1989 to 1992 for 4 years, and that team lost 3 games in 4 years. They lost in her freshman year, they lost to Scottsburg in, I believe it was the semi-state. Scottsburg went on to win the state that year. So the only game they lost all year was to the state champion in the state tournament. One game. The next year, they lost to, I think it was Huntington North, at the state finals. The next year, they didn't lose any games. And then her senior year, they lost to Kokomo in the state championship final game. So 3 games out of 4 years, that's a pretty good record at the teams that she was on. And now we're still going to games, and one of the reasons we are, she's coaching. She's the junior varsity coach out there, B&L. She loves basketball. I love basketball, always have. And not just little girls looked up. You know, I can remember back when I was 8, 9, 10 years old, I was going to ball games in the old quarry up there at 15th and O Street. I remember names like Mark Denny and Ronnie Smith, Bud Beatty, Dave Torpy, Bob Cups, those kind of names from back when I was a kid. And then on beyond that, other names that were closer to my age than those kids were. But Jack Connors, he's another one that he goes farther back. I was even younger. People like that I watched play. Now, I never got to play at the level that some of them did. But I know how kids are and how they develop a love for things and how they look up to people. My daughter's one of those people, 8 years old. She saw them win the state championship in 1983. She was on the team for 4 years while she was in high school. Didn't play very much. I'm going to make a video about that one of these days, but that's not why I'm talking about that right now. I'm talking about that because of her and her love for basketball, and she went to Purdue University and graduated in 4 years, came out, started coaching at Bedford Middle School, and she's coached at Bedford Middle School or Bedford North Lawrence High School, one of those two, ever since then. But she loves basketball, and she likes to win. I'm going to tell you this little story. When she was in high school, she didn't get to play as much as some of the other kids that was in her class. Not that she wasn't a good player, not that she didn't know how to play. She did, but she was playing with a whole bunch of kids. All them kids went to Division I schools. One of them was Miss Basketball in her senior year. She went to a Division I school. She went to IU, didn't like it, and went to Louisville. She was an All-American down there, I think. But my daughter she wasn't a starter. She didn't get to play as much as I thought she would. You know, all parents think their kids pretty daggone good. She could have played a lot of other places. She played summer ball, Owen County, over at Spencer, Indiana. And all our kids went over there, and they played in a kind of a league over there, give them a place to play in the summer, along with their AAU programs and their Indiana White River Games programs that they played in when they were kids. But she played over at Spencer in the summer league, and there's a man over there, he was the basketball coach, and I think he might have been either the superintendent of schools or the principal or something at Owen Valley High School. His name was Steve Redenbaugh. And some of you older people, you have to be a little older than me to remember Steve Redenbaugh. Steve Redenbaugh played at Paoli back in the days when I was a kid. He graduated from high school in 1961. He was one of Paoli's best teams. Back in those days, Paoli played in our sectional at Bedford. There was 12 teams in our sectionals, 4-class basketball. And when they had Steve Redenbaugh, Paoli was a contender. And so he was a good basketball player that I watched when I was a kid. And I didn't like him because he's on the enemy. He was on the enemy's team, but there wasn't nothing wrong with the man. He's a good player. I liked him as a player. And after he wasn't the enemy anymore, he went to Indiana University and played played basketball there. Then I began to like him. And I liked him when he was over at Spencer doing what he did, running that summer league. He had a daughter. Her name was Karen. I think she might have been maybe a year. She might have been the same age as my daughter, a year older than her. And he had another daughter. Her name was Darcy, and she was younger. But those two girls were going to be in high school together when Karen was a senior, and I think Darcy was a freshman. They went to high school together at Owen County. He had a pretty good team. I think, I'm not mistaken, I think she's good enough when she's a senior to be considered as a Miss Basketball candidate, and I think she was on the Indiana Girls All-Star team. Pretty good basketball player. And Steve, yeah, he was coaching at Owen Valley, and he needed some help over there. He had those two girls of his that were good, and he had some other pretty good players, but he needed some other girls, and he come up to me one time over there to Owen County gym, and he said, "That girl of yours, she's good. She could, if she was over here, her," and he mentioned another girl on the team too that didn't play a lot. He said, "If I had those two girls, I could contend for the state championship here at Owen Valley." I said, "Well, I don't know about that, Steve. Don't know whether you'd be that good or not, but those two girls would help you, I'm sure." He said they would. He said they could start for my team, and he said we might have a chance against Bedford. I said, "I don't know about that." He said, why don't you give some thought to getting that other girl and your daughter and have them play at Owen Valley next year?" And I said, "Nah, I don't think anything like that's going to happen." But I was talking to Betty about it, and on the way home, and she said, "Boy, that'd be good. Brad would get to play more. That'd be a good thing." I said, "Well, I don't know how that'd work out." He said they could work it out, but how are we going to do that? I mean, we live in Bedford. I ain't moving to Owen Valley. She said, "I don't know. You ought to ask him what we can do." I said, "Why don't we ask Brett first?" So I asked my daughter. I said, "Steve Redenbaugh thinks that you," and mentioned the other girl's name in her class. He said, if you could come to Owen Valley, he could arrange for that to happen. He said, if you come over there, you'd start, play all the time, and have a really good team. I said, your mother and I talked about it, and I don't know, we might think about that. If you want to do that. She looked at me like I'd lost my mind. She said, "Dad?" And I mean, it's like, what are you thinking? She said, "Bedford North Lawrence is my school." She said, "My teammates are my best friends." She said, "We win championships. We win, and we're at the state championship every year. And we're going to win the state." She said, "Why would I go to Owen Valley?" And I thought, well, I guess you wouldn't. Okay. But that's how she thought. And I'm happy that she did. I'm proud that she thinks that way. B&L was her school. That's where she wanted to play basketball, and if she couldn't play as much as she wanted to, she was still on that team. And she still went to practice every day, and she still helped, and she still did what she could with her friends, her teammates, her school. And she just looked at me like I'd lost my mind. How could I even be thinking such a thing as to suggest that to her? And that was the end of it. That subject never come up again. and I don't think she ever regretted it. She still feels that way. She wants to be where you compete for championships. That's what drives her. That's what drives her as a coach. You know, I've talked to her in other years about going somewhere else and getting a coaching job where she could be the head coach. She said, Dad, I don't want a coaching job somewhere else. I'm at Bedford North Lawrence High School. That's my school. That's where I want to be. And the answer was the same. We can compete for championships. So that's my little girl who had a dream when she was 8 years old. She's still living that dream. Still living that dream. I don't know what this is worth. I don't know if I'll ever even publish this, but I might. I'm 75 years old now, or I'm just about 75, and none of us are guaranteed tomorrow, and I encourage Betty not to buy green bananas or too much toilet paper because I'm not sure we'll be around to use it, and I don't cut near as much firewood as I used to. I try to run out of firewood in March every year. So I don't know what's going to happen next year, but what I expect to happen is our girls to be back next year competing for the state championship, and I hope I'm there to see them win the state. Until the next time, I'm the Hard Times guy. You have a good day.